Hello, hello, and welcome. This is today's Music News Power Hour from the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. Stay tuned. Make sure that you ping your friends into the room as we get started here. We're going to be looking at today's breaking news and headlines as they pertain to us in the music industry. So make sure that you invite your friends into the room. You can also visit our website, musicindustrycity.com, where you can watch us on the video stream. You can see what we're doing most of the time behind the scenes. If you join us on our video stream, you can also check out our website and follow along with our headlines and read more about everything that we're discussing today. Stick around for just a moment. We're going to begin the countdown and our headlines here shortly. And once more, make sure that you ping your friends into the room using the plus sign at the bottom. We're going to get rolling here with today's music news headlines. Good day, everyone. Today is Tuesday, and welcome. Joining you today from basically from New York City. So thank you for joining us. We are here each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Eastern, the Music News Power Hour. All the news that you care to hear and discuss. We'll be joining you with our countdown here shortly. I love it. Peter is in VR right now. So we want to thank all of our viewers who are joining us on the VR stream and also on our video stream too. Welcome to VR, welcome to the stream, welcome to the room and the discussion. And here we go. We begin our countdown into today's headlines.
It's Tuesday, the 22nd June, and this is the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Eli Window.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Peter. It's good to see you. It is Tuesday. Let's do this Tuesday right.
Let's make it happen. And today's news, we're going to talk about George Michael's estate is now at Sony. Song Trader raises another $50 million. UK ministers won't publish events research results. Racial diversity test is barely passing the grade. SoundExchange distributions are up. Plus, Facebook has an audio app rollout. And as always, our daily Spotify update. These stories coming up right after this. But first, let's take a look at this day in history with Eli Window.
Indeed. This day in history. Let's take a look at this day in history. June 22nd, 1969, we lost American singer and actress Judy Garland, who died of a barbiturate overdose, aged 47. She was found on the floor of her rented Chelsea home in London, UK, on this date, 1969, in memory. And on this date, 2019, American drummer and record producer Jerry Kerrigan died aged 75. He first achieved widespread recognition by being part of the first wave of the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, and later as a first-call session musician in Nashville for over 3 decades, in memory. Birthdays today. Born on this date, 1936, Chris Christopherson. And now I have Me and Bobby McGee stuck in my head, one of his hits. Also born this day, 1944, Peter Asher, who was a producer and head of Apple Records in late 1960s. He went on to become James Taylor's and Linda Ronstadt's manager. Born this date, 1948, American multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, and record producer Todd Rundgren. Also born this date, 1953, American singer-songwriter Cyndi Lauper. Love Cyndi. Born on this date also, 1957, Gary Beers, bassist from Australian rock band INXS. Born this date, 1964, Bobby Gillespie, guitar and vocals from Scottish rock band Primal Scream. Born this date, 1970, Stephen Page, guitar and vocals with Canadian rock band Bare Naked Ladies. And born this date, 1981, Chris Urbanowitz, guitarist with English rock band The Editors. Happy birthday. Moving on this day in music history, June 22nd, 1981, Mark Chapman pleaded guilty to the charge of murdering John Lennon in 1980. He was later sentenced to 20 years to life for his crime. On this day, 2015, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon in Los Angeles. The alleged incident occurred on the University of California campus, where his son was on the football team. The weapon in question was a kettlebell, which is used for weight training. He was released on $160,000 US bail. And on this day, 2016, Led Zeppelin singer Robert Plant told a court hearing the Stairway to Heaven copyright dispute that he had a dim memory of the time the song was written. Plant said he could not remember meeting the band Spirit, who claimed the band stole their guitar riff for Stairway to Heaven in the 1970s. Quote, I don't have a recollection of almost anyone I've hung out with, quote unquote. Plant said, causing roars of laughter in the court. I don't have a recollection of almost anyone I've hung out with. What a great quote. And that wraps it up for this day in history. Let's get into our headlines. Over to you, Peter.
Right on. Thanks for that. So, funny side note, when I read Peter Asher's birthday, I was like, oh, I want to go email him to wish him a happy birthday. And like you always kind of just search your email for the last email. Well, apparently he sent me an email back in March, an invitation to celebrate, like virtually celebrate his 30th wedding anniversary. And I'm like, oh, I totally missed that. I'm like,
womp womp.
Well, it's like I started looking at emails that I've missed over the last few months. I don't know if anybody else has done this, but looking at emails, I'm like, I have missed a lot of emails, and I think a lot of people have done that. So I just want to put a PSA out: is if you emailed somebody back in November, December, January, and you didn't hear back from them, it's okay to reach out to them again. Because, I mean, we had a lot going on. So, some people were just not tuning into email. So, make sure to hit them up, say hi, and go for it. But now back to the news. And this is where we summarize the most essential news in the fast-paced music industry. And I'd like to thank everyone viewing the show in Altspace VR and on our video live stream. To set the stage for a roundtable conversation, we begin by reading key sections of media pieces. If you'd like to provide commentary on one of today's topics, please raise your hand during the reading. To stay up to date on this and other programming, follow the Music Industry City group by tapping the greenhouse at the top, and you may register for free at musicindustrycity.com to obtain access to exclusive content. And remember to follow our Green Button co-hosts and commentators as they take the stage. Now let's get to it. All right, and this first piece is from Billboard.com. To access all the articles mentioned in today's show and throughout the week, visit musicindustrycity.com and click on the show notes graphic. The DOJ forced Endeavor's Emanuel and Shapiro off Live Nation board over 2010 ticketing deal. Concern about IMG's ownership in a ticketing company that Live Nation had spun off in 2010 led to a Department of Justice request that IMG parent Endeavor's chief executive, Ari Emanuel, and president Mark Shapiro resign from Live Nation's board of directors. As part of a consent decree governing Live Nation's merger with Ticketmaster in 2010, the DOJ Assistant Attorney General for its antitrust division, Christine Varney, required Ticketmaster to sell off Payouts, a ticketing company it had purchased 3 years earlier, to Comcast Spectator. In 2017, Payouts was again sold as part of an intra-company transaction to sports marketing platform Learfield IMG College, which Endeavor owns a stake in through its blockbuster purchase of IMG in 2013. Silver Lake and the Comcast-backed Atarios also hold stake in the Learfield with Endeavor. Emanuel has been on the Live Nation board of directors since 2007, while Shapiro joined the Live Nation board in 2008. An Endeavor spokesperson states, quote, while there has been no violation of law, we understand and respect the DOJ's concerns regarding the current similarities of our businesses. Why the DOJ decided to act now under the Biden administration, the DOJ's acting assistant attorney general for antitrust is career DOJ deputy AG and Distinguished Service Award winner Richard Powers, is unclear. Emanuel had already agreed to resign from the board effective 2 weeks ago when his final stock awards in the company had vested. In a release, the DOJ described the ownership issue as an illegal interlocking directorate where, quote, one person or an agent of one person or company serves as an officer or director of two companies. Section 8 of the Clayton Act prohibits the same person or company from serving as an officer or director of two competing companies except under certain defined safe harbors. The release goes on to say Endeavor and Live Nation compete closely in many sports and entertainment markets. Both Live Nation and Endeavor, through its wholly owned and minority-owned subsidiaries, promote and sell tickets and VIP packages that include tickets, lodging, and travel accommodations to live music, sporting, and other entertainment events. Remember, this was a big thing back with the Live Nation and Ticketmaster merger for a decade ago, and antitrust, and they put a lot of restrictions in place. Moving over to music business worldwide. George Michael Estate Inc.'s exclusive global deal with Sony Music UK's merch company, Contraband. Contraband, Sony Music's Entertainment's merchandise company, has inked an exclusive global deal with the George Michael Estate for the rights to design and distribute exclusive George Michael merchandise globally. This deal expands on the estate's existing partnership with Sony Music UK, and the company states that the deal marks the first authentic and exclusive merchandise deal with the George Michael brand since 2011. Created in partnership with George Michael's estate, Contraband will develop and distribute a new line of merchandise products on a worldwide basis. It will feature original and bespoke products, including limited edition prints, flasks, stationery, apparel, and limited edition figurines, plus special items by guest fashion designers. Sony Music Entertainment UK announced the acquisition of British merchandise company Contraband in September 2019. And since the acquisition, Contraband has collaborated with Sony Music's labels and worked with merchandise partnerships as with artists including Nick Cave, Kylie, and the Nothing But Thieves. So lots going on with Sony. I just got a kick out of this because from yesterday, Eli, if you remember, we talked about this day in history where George Michael bashed Sony. He left Sony, said, I'll never work with Sony.
He said never.
He said never, and he came back, and next thing you know, he's working with Sony again. And now the estate is again.
That's almost why you don't ever, talk bad about somebody when you break up with them, because what if you get back together with them and then you've talked badly about them to all of your friends? So yeah, I do remember that was a crazy day in music history, and we're referencing back again today. And don't forget, you can join the discussion if you are listening by chiming in the chat or by raising your hand if there's anything we're discussing today that you'd like to comment on.
Right on. All right, and moving over to SongTrader. SongTrader raises $50 million in a Series D funding round. B2B music licensing marketplace SongTrader has raised $50 million in an oversubscribed Series D funding round. The round saw participation from Australian-based institutional investors, including Regal, Aware, Super, Perennial, Argo, and Greenscape, as well as follow-on investment from the founder and CEO of WiseTech Global, Richard White. Now there's talk of a potential IPO for SongTrader, perhaps evenly as early as the second half of this year. SongTrader's latest funding round follows its $30 million Series C round in August last year, which at the time valued the company at $165 million. The Los Angeles headquarters music rights firm has now raised over $100 million to date, valuing the company at over $300 million. Previously, SongTrader raised $4 million in a Series A funding round in 2018 and $12 million in a Series B funding round in 2019. SongTrader, which describes itself as, quote, the world's largest B2B music licensing marketplace, specializes in licensing fully cleared music for sync to a range of clients, including the likes of Disney, Netflix, Apple, Coca-Cola, Amazon, and Columbia Pictures. It claims to connect over 600,000 artists, songwriters, and music rights owners to a B2B marketplace of music buyers such as brands, advertising agencies, streaming platforms, SVOD networks, film, TV, gaming companies, and influencers. The firm has over 300,000 tracks licensed through its ecosystem and more than 1.5 million tracks on its platform. Over on Billboard, on racial diversity tests, BMAC says industry is barely passing. Average isn't good enough. The Black Music Action Coalition releases first annual Music Industry Action Report Card assessing industry's progress in advancing racial diversity. When the BMAC was established last June, joining the hashtag The Show Must Be Paused to advance racial diversity, equity, and inclusion in the music industry, the organization's membership of Black artists, managers, attorneys, and allies released an open letter. It stated in part, Quote, BMAC intends to hold you accountable and will keep track of the music industry's efforts to clean up its own house. BMAC has made good on that promise with its first annual Music Industry Action Report Card, arriving on the heels of a new diversity study conducted by the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. BMAC's 37-page report has been released in full following an overview presented during the National Museum of African American Music State of Black Music Summit the other day in Nashville. You can get the link. The link to that 37-page report is in the Billboard article, and you can get to the Billboard article by going to musicindustrycity.com and clicking on the show notes. The article continues, overall, the industry was giving passing grades in such areas as establishing funds to donate to various Black community organizations, supporting Black employees and executives who are advocating for change on the inside, hiring Black diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, and initiatives made by companies like Sony and BMG to cancel recoupments and fix inequities in royalty payments to legacy artists. However, BMAC co-president Binta Brown says there's major concern, quote, that many of the changes appear to be surface. They appear to be just enough as opposed to manifesting a deep internal churning and transformational change leading toward true equity. And so many of the grades are merely passing. When it comes to justice, average isn't enough. So it goes on much deeper here, and there's more to read, and check out the article. It's and you can also access the report directly from the article. Let's talk about SoundExchange, and this one comes from Hypebot. SoundExchange distributions grew 4% to $947 million last year. SoundExchange announced that despite the pandemic, it had distributed $947 million in performance royalties to creators during the fiscal year of 2020. That's a $39 million increase from 2019, marking a 4% growth year over year with an operating administrative rate of 5.3%. The digital music PRO has distributed nearly $8 billion to creators since its 2003 launch. Michael Heafy, the president and CEO of SoundExchange, says, quote, music was among the industry's hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. With venues shuttered and touring revenue effectively non-existent, digital royalties represented the lifeblood and primary income source for a large segment of the music industry. As a side note, SoundExchange collects and distributes digital performance royalties on behalf of nearly 250,000 recording artists and master rights owners' accounts. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about it a lot. We've been talking about it for months. And this one, hundreds of indie venues have now received funds as SBA ramps up payouts. Live venue operators and promoters have so far received 677 award notices for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program, according to the Small Business Association. The SBA has ramped up its efforts to award Shuttered Venue Operators Grants, the SVOG, program funds to independent venue owners and promoters who lost the majority of their income in 2020. As of midday Monday, 1,445 applicants have received award notices for funds from the federal relief program that was signed into law on December 27th. In the last week alone, the SBA has sent out roughly 1,000 notices of awards, more than double the amount the administration provided in the 26 days since it began sending out award notices on May 26th. Of those awards, so far, live venue operators and promoters have received 677 grants. Performing arts organizations and talent representatives have received 232 and 186, respectively. According to the SBA, at least 5,004 live music venues and promoters have applied for a grant, which means roughly 13.5% have received award notices. In recent weeks, the SVOG program within the SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance has brought on the team that quickly rolled out the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which opened in May. And amongst the program award recipients so far are promoter Nederlander Concerts, which received $10 million, festival producer Danny Wimmer Presents, which received $9.4 million, and Colorado agency Madison House, which received $1.8 million. Southern California venue owner Lance Sterling of Sterling Venue Ventures received an award notice of more than $7 million on Friday, 3 days after his Canyon Club venue in Agora Hills hosted a Foo Fighters underplay. Sterling goes on to say, quote, I get nervous for people to see that we're awarded $7 million because they don't know that I owe $11.8 million. Even with that award sounding so big, each venue is $1 million more than that in debt. He also adds that he has not yet received the money in the bank account. And also, among the venues on the list of awardees that Billboard contacted, none were able to confirm that they have received the SVOG funds. And according to Stern, the SBA told him the first payment would arrive in July or August. And there's a quote here. It says, I think the SBA is trying to underpromise and overdeliver because I think what happened was they overpromised and obviously we're getting beaten up. He says, referencing a myriad of delays that have slowed the federal grants distribution. The SBA took nearly 4 months to open the applications for grants, and when it finally launched on April 8, the portal crashed. Venues had to wait another 18 days before it relaunched. It took an additional month before award notices began rolling out on May 26, and the SBA missed its 2-week deadline to provide grants to Priority 1 businesses or those who lost 90% or more of their revenue in 2022. So these are, just to also notice, what we're hearing is they're saying I think the article title is actually incorrect. It's a little off. It says hundreds of indie venues have now received funds as SBA ramps up payments. These are not them receiving the funds. They are receiving the first notice is that you can get the award, then you have to accept the award, then you will get funding. So many of these have not received the actual monies yet.
And two, I just kind of wanted to chime in, if I may, and comment and say, yes, it does sound like $7 million is a huge award coming to a venue, but when you put into perspective what it costs to keep a shuttered venue from going under, from closing, from to keep the space from being rented to another business owner, it costs an astronomical dollar figure each month to pay the rent, to make sure that the licensure and the certificates stay current, so that when the venue does open, the proprietor doesn't have to reapply for all of those licenses and permits, to keep the utilities going, to keep the phone lines up so that the business doesn't have to get a new phone number when it reopens, to keep the website running, to have someone update the website and run the office. These are all costs that these venues are incurring just so that they can maintain under their current owner-operators. And in the interest of keeping these current owner-operators at the helm of these venues, I do feel that this title of this article is a little bit misleading. These owner operators have not received funding quite yet, and it says in the article, I believe, that the funding is coming in July or August. And in my mind, I'm wondering how much more money will the venues owe by July or August when the funding comes in than they do now. Will the funding that they receive in July or August cover any portion of their expenses to actually make a difference? And so I know it seems like a lot of money is being awarded and being promised, and that's great. These venues absolutely need it. We need to protect them, but I would love to see this funding come sooner. It feels like telling someone who is sick, oh, your medicine will be here in July or August.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to go over to the UK in just a moment, and they're having their own set of issues reopening, and the venues are struggling. But this is something that you hear a lot of people are going to say, oh, they make this, they're getting awarded $7 million, $11 million. Those operations, when you hear that means these are larger operations, which, because they're larger operations, can generate more revenue, but also, gross, but also costs more to operate the facility, whether it's just, the real estate, whether it's, insurance, whether it's staffing, whether it's everything that goes into it, there are more costs involved.
Right, definitely. And the larger the venue, the larger all the costs on the bottom line are, right down to the insurance premiums that get paid. And so, yes, it sounds like a lot of money, but unfortunately for some of these venues, those checks are spent before they arrive.
Right. And they need 75% or more capacity to open up to stay afloat.
Absolutely. It's not a viable business option for many venue owners to open at 50% capacity because they must They must open at 75% or more in order to break even.
Right. And it also comes in from a lot of people looking at this saying, oh, well, yeah, because they need the ticket sales. It's not the ticket sales, it's the bar sales, it's the food and beverage. Everything is accounted
Absolutely.
for. These venues know how much they can expect on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night or a Saturday night and at what capacity. That's where they make a majority of the money. It's not on ticket sales.
Absolutely. When you go to a venue, if you're having dinner and your waitress asks if you would like dessert or coffee after your meal, she's driving your check price, $2 higher because the musicians on stage that you're enjoying that you love need that support. And so every dollar that is spent at a venue is banked upon to support the music that you're loving at that venue. All I have to say about this article as we move on to the next one is let's go funding. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Well, hey, Eli, before we head over to the next article, which is going to be talking about UK, let's check in with the weather.
All right, let's go ahead and check in with the weather. The weather is taking a look at you today, and no matter what's going on in your life, the weather thinks that you are beautiful. Make sure that you ping your friends into the room so that they can join us right here at the Music News Power Hour. We're here from 12 to 1 Eastern every day, and you can join the discussion anytime by chiming in the chat or by raising your hand. Back over to you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks for that. Beautiful. That sounds like, that'd make for a great song. Maybe we could get somebody like Christina Aguilera to sing it.
Didn't she already write that one? The weather
Yeah.
thinks you're beautiful? I don't know.
I don't know if that was the line in it, but hey, let's go with it. All right, UK ministers are refusing to publish events research program results for PR reasons. It's causing more cancellations. Organizers of Kendall Calling yesterday hit out at the UK government's decision to delay the publication of findings of its events research program, a delay allegedly instigated for PR rather than logistical reasons, confirming that the decision has forced the cancellation of the 2021 edition of the music festival. This year's Kendall Calling was due to take place from July 29th to August 1st, which is after the new target date for lifting the remaining COVID restrictions in England. However, it's the latest in a string of independent festivals due to take place in or after late July that had to call off its 2021 edition. That's partly because there is a risk of further delays in the lifting of COVID rules, which could result in a last-minute cancellation, and there is currently no cancellation insurance available on the commercial market. UK ministers have repeatedly knocked back proposals that they follow the lead of a number of other governments and introduce state-backed cancellation insurance for the summer 2021 festival season. However, it was another more recent decision by the UK government that Kendall Calling organizers specifically criticized when canceling their 2021 show yesterday. The events research program has been investigating what measures can be employed at full capacity shows to reduce the risk of COVID infections. Initial indications were that researchers successfully identified that certain safety measures did indeed mean that such shows could go ahead without any increase in COVID risks. But the government is yet to publish the findings of that research and the accompanying guidelines on which measures promoters should look to implement. The Kendall Calling team stated yesterday, quote, "Without the safety guidance, there are numerous aspects of the festival we cannot plan and which could lay us wide open to last-minute unforeseen regulations and requirements which could scupper an already built festival. Capacity or density restrictions, track and trace protocol, testing regime, COVID certification, a host of unknown actions required yet potentially requested too late to be implemented." Ever since it became clear that remaining COVID restrictions in England would not be lifted on the June 21st as originally planned, the live sector has been calling on ministers to publish the full findings of the ERP. That's partly because, while there are certainly legitimate concerns about the new Delta variant of the coronavirus, it's widely suspected that the government's own research about the impact of full capacity shows on COVID infections likely contradicts its current position that such shows need to be postponed for another month. Kendall Calling said in a statement yesterday, quote, "Our understanding is that the Department for Digital Culture, Media, and Sport are keen to publish the ERP findings and guidance, but that it does not fit around Number 10's communications plans. This is insulting to our entire industry, who have been awaiting the results of a pilot event that took place almost 2 months ago to inform our approach to staging events safely this summer. The article goes in much deeper, and one of the things that also is going on is that sports are opened up. I mean, there's a lot that's opening up. It just seems that it's music and festivals that are what they're considering the problem. And there have been more these tests going on, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to move over to this other article. And if anybody has some comments that they'd like to discuss, feel free to raise your hand and join this as I start reading the next article here from IQ Mag. And this is 10,000 enjoy moshing without masks at download pilot. So this ties in another reference with Kendall Calling. It is hoped Download Pilot could pave the way for the UK festival season to start, as cancelled Kendall Calling hits out at the delay to releasing the ERP report. The organizers of Download Pilot, the UK's first major camping festival of its kind since lockdown, are hailing it a resounding success and are confident that the test will encourage government to greenlight other summer events. The specially created 3-day festival took place over this past weekend as part of the second phase of the UK government's Scientific Events Research Program, the ERP. The download pilot involved 10,000 fans welcomed to the hallowed grounds of rock in Donington Park to enjoy a fully fledged festival experience with no social distancing, no masks, and moshing was allowed. All attendees were required to take both a PCR and lateral flow test prior to the event, sharing details with the NHS contact tracing system. Attendees had to show proof of a negative result to enter the festival gates and have committed to submitting a second PCR test 5 days post-event to help scientists monitor any COVID-19 infection activity. That's the last of the fans from the venue. The Festival Republic dismissed any notion that live events are not possible while the COVID-19 pandemic continues. Quote, "This is 100% evidence that this is not true," says Managing Director Melvin Ben. "This is a very clear demonstration that you can do it." The article goes in deeper here, and if you want to find out more, because it references the Kendall Calling article that we just discussed, and you can find those at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the show notes graphic, and you can follow these. So, any thoughts on this?
I'm just wondering if anyone in the chat or anyone in the room has anything they want to add. I feel like this is a subject that we probably have an expert present to discuss with us. And so if anybody has thoughts on this, do feel free to raise your hand or chime in the chat. Please share your thoughts with us in this discussion.
Yeah, at least some people from the area that can fill us in. I mean, are sports opening up more so? It seems like the outrage is that everything else is opening up except for music festivals.
I think it has to do with, I've heard that it has a lot to do with insurance, and that it's hard to get shows insured right now. And that could be one of the reasons. I don't know what the difference is between music events and others that also require insurance, but I've kind of heard that conversation going on.
Well, that's the big thing that's been going on since December and January is the insurance that these festivals, festival operators, promoters, etc., have been begging the government for funding to handle cancellation insurance because they knew these type of things would happen. Possibly, the government was saying, "Hey, go ahead and start planning," and June 21st, we'll make that announcement, and we're looking forward to June 21st, and we're going to have that happen. Great. Now, if a festival said we're going to launch, we're going to do it in July, there's a lot of moving parts in putting together a festival. You have to get staff, crews, equipment, load in, everything, promotions, marketing, the bands, everything has to go into place. And what if the government does what it just did? Oh, we aren't going to open. It's going to be another 4 weeks. And then you have to cancel your festival. Well, the festival says, well, we don't have any money to get cancellation insurance, and you won't help us with cancellation insurance. But the government says, well, go ahead and, you should have it ready to go when we make that announcement. A little bit of a catch-22 there, don't you think?
Absolutely. But that's so common in this industry, in the live music space.
one of the things people don't take into account, and we've talked about this before, is that the sporting events are going to happen anyway, crowd or no crowd. You know, the league is paying for it, the television contracts, the advertising is paying for that to happen, and they're going to go on crowd or not. And, you know, when a concert or festival needs to take place, people forget that, you know, the band, most acts can't just decide to play one event here or there. It's not financially viable for them. They have to have an entire tour planned out. And with the current state of affairs, they can't be assured that they'll have 100% capacity at all the stops along their tour. So it just might not be financially advisable for most artists to go out on the road at right now. I mean, yes, we did just have the Foo Fighters concert sold out at Madison Square Garden, but New York is in a much better place than most other states or countries. I'm done speaking.
Well, Elliot, just coming from my desk, looking at the force majeure clauses and what it means for an artist to sign on for a festival that may or may not play, that's out of pocket, not just for the promoter, not just for the fans, for the artist, not just for the staff who commits to those days. It's just out of pocket, out of pocket, out of pocket for everyone. And so in a situation like that, I'm wondering if it's just a lose-lose type of a situation to sign for that at this juncture. And if that is the case, then that's heartbreaking for me, because I don't want that to be so.
What I can add is that the venue that I work in has repeatedly told us that we'll be starting up in September, and the schedule is very thick come September. We have in the neighborhood of 50 events confirmed between December and the end of the year. Those haven't all been announced yet, but the schedule is filling up quickly. I think we'll be in a much better place in September for these artists, most artists, to feel like they can make a better go at it, at that point. It's going to be a rough summer we have to get through, and hopefully these festivals can happen and, get people out and more comfortable seeing events, but we'll just have to see how it goes. The festivals are outdoors and my venue is indoors, so that, that plays into it as well, but, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
And Elliot, as you said, some markets are in a better position to navigate this landscape than other markets are. New York is a market that is very trying anyway to stay up to date and savvy, and many New Yorkers are getting vaccinated and following directives, especially at this point with the virus so widespread in New York. And so it is important to note that some markets are better set up to rebound at this juncture than other markets are. Everyone has to take off on their own runway right now as safety allows.
On that note, I am going to my first full capacity event this evening. It's a fully vaccinated show at the Beacon Theater, and I did work a bunch of events this past week. They were outdoors and somewhat socially distanced, loosely, but we're getting back at it. Things are starting to happen.
That's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elliot. And if I may, I want to share too. I'm affiliated with Birdland in Midtown Manhattan. Birdland is reopening after over a year of closure. Birdland is reopening July 1st. And although it is an indoor event, I'm very pleased to say that our July 1st grand reopening event is almost sold out. So if you want tickets to Birdland's grand reopening, make sure you get them before they sell out. And thank you to everyone who is helping to keep the live music industry going right now, breathing life into this industry for all of us so that we can come back to festivals, we can come back to events, and that we can do it safely. And Elliot, I hope you have fun at the Beacon. I love that venue.
And I will also add that, working at events, especially outdoor events like, I often do and have been doing this past week or so, constantly people are walking by and they just sort of lean over the fence and say, what's going on here? And they have absolutely, tourism is returning. The accents and language barrier is apparent, and people are coming back to New York. I was working down in Battery Park, right near the ferry that goes to, Liberty Island, and those boats are full. People are coming back. The city is definitely more busy than it's been in months and months and months, and we're coming back.
I love it. I love it. Let's all come back. Let's all come back stronger. That's the message, definitely going forward. But speaking of going forward, I want to say hi to Tyler, who's just joined the stage. Thanks for raising your hand, and thanks for joining the discussion. How you doing?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I actually was adding to the discussion based on what Elliot said as somebody that lives in New York, also going to the Beacon tonight. But I went to my first in-person event in terms of music. I guess it was less than a week ago over in Brooklyn at a bar called Our Wicked Lady. Now, this venue had a huge issue during the pandemic because it is mostly a live music based place with a bar on the on the ground level, and then a rooftop kind of event space, right? And as soon as shows were available, they did vaccine only. So I guess what I'm trying to add to the conversation here is what it was like going to one of those events that was 100% vaccinated only, and showed them on my phone that I had a vaccine card. Unfortunately, I'm from New Jersey, so I didn't have access to like an Excelsior app or something like that, and was verified via my ID that I was in fact the person that was on that card. Went up, didn't feel uncomfortable wearing a mask. It was like a psych rock kind of like kind of show, like indie rock sort of vibe. So it was like a younger crowd, and I felt safe. Everybody was verified that they were vaccinated, and it was packed, and it was amazing. So these events are starting to happen, especially in New York. I just don't know how possible, echoing what Elliot was saying, in some of these other markets and other areas where the vaccination rate isn't as high, and it might not make sense for a band logistically
Right.
to plan together.
Absolutely. And once again, just like you said, I want to echo it one more time. Each market has to take off on their own runway of safety. Every market has to make that takeoff back into live events when it is safe. Great point. And you know what? I love hearing about this. I'm a New Yorker myself, so I love hearing about live shows. Let's all go to live shows, shall we?
Right. Well, thanks for having me. That's all I wanted to add, and I do appreciate what you guys are saying right now. So thank you so much.
And hey, Tyler, how you doing?
All right. So,
See you tonight.
awesome.
Can I throw something in from the UK side of things? I just wanted to ask a quick question on those vaccinations. I heard that the Bruce Springsteen tour coming up is vaccinated only, but they're only doing FDA approved vaccines, which means if you are getting people from outside the area, i.e. anybody from the UK, there's a high chance they're not actually going to be able to go to it. So I'm curious as to whether that's a countrywide thing or whether that was just that one specific tour.
So, yeah, we discussed this the other day, and yeah, so if you had the AstraZeneca vaccine, you are not allowed into the Bruce Springsteen on Broadway show. Now, people were outraged at Springsteen personally, but it was the venue that was stating it that was based on New York State. It was the regulations. So it was coming down from the state to specific to that particular event. I don't know if actually it is an event on the event level itself that has that final say. So, we'd have to dig in deeper into that if anybody has other information. But they were saying that it was based on a New York State regulation.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. All right. And for those musicians that can't get out there yet, we have Twitch, we have live streaming. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we mentioned Trivium's Matt Heafy, that he's been really successful on Twitch, and he now reveals how much he makes. And this is from metalinjection.net. Again, you can follow all the headlines and links in our show notes. Go to musicindustrycity.com, click on the show notes graphic to access everything. So the article starts off, Trivium's Matt Heafy reveals how much he makes off Twitch monthly compared to the band's streaming revenue. Hint, it's a lot. TRIVIUM guitarist and vocalist Matt Heafy has been streaming on Twitch every single weekday from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon since January 2018. Heafy does covers, plays TRIVIUM songs, plays video games, and pretty much just entertains his tens of thousands of fans. And the article is like, you can talk about, there's a lot of articles that talk about his activity. But in a new report by the New York Times, Heafy's Twitch prowess was profiled. Heafy revealed that he generates just under $10,000 per month from his Twitch channel. The report compares that revenue to what TRIVIUM made off its streaming services between 2019 and 2020, which the report cites as $11,000 for the entire band. TRIVIUM bassist Paolo Gregorio disputes the numbers in the New York Times report, tweeting this morning, "The math for streaming for the band is wrong unless New York Times only counted Spotify and no other DSPs. Not sure where they got that number." But Matt was very forthcoming on how he planned and grew his Twitch channel, and there's a whole article there. And they were talking about TRIVIUM will head on road this summer with Megadeth, Lamb of God, and In Flames. So they have numerous tour dates set up. But, just goes to show that there are artists that are making some money over on, it's great that he already had a fan base, but there are artists on Twitch that are making even more than $10,000 a month without doing any sort of touring. Speaking of live streaming, Mandolin Live launches Live Plus. Mandolin, the tech-focused digital fan engagement company, has launched Live Plus. It's a platform of new products and enhancements built specifically for hybrid. Sorry about that. Had a phone call coming in, even though I have Do Not Disturb turned on.
I love it.
Yeah, I had Do Not Disturb turned on, and I still get scam likely calls. So anyway, apologies. Mandolin, the tech-focused digital fan engagement company, has launched Live. It's a platform of new products and enhancements built specifically for the hybrid event future of concerts and festivals. Quote, "We surveyed 4,000 fans, and the answer was clear. Fans want to go back to in-person events, but they don't want to give up digital interactions they've come to love while artists weren't out on the road," said Mary Kay, who's the CEO and co-founder of Mandolin. Quote, "We're thrilled to introduce a platform to the market that takes the beauty of a live show and amplifies it through digital experiences. Live Plus is a mobile-first platform built for that digital event application, meaning it takes the best parts of concerts for the fans, artists, and venues and makes them even better, regardless of whether you're in the building or across the globe." So it goes on, and what they're saying some fans get, it goes in more deeper. I'll just give you the bullet points here. What fans get are the stress-free last-minute ticketing. Live stream buyers are often last-minute buyers. 40% of ticket sales happen on the day of, and constraints of legacy ticketing systems have provided poor fan experiences to massive crowds. So Mandolin's ticketing platform will be different. Mobile merch purchasing and auctions, mobile fan participation, mobile VIP experiences, digital festival enhancements, and on-demand replays. What do the artists and venues get? They're going to get additional revenue streams, stability, fan insights. So, and the data is important for these things. And you can also get this, find out more at mandolin.com. Clubhouse. Is anybody familiar with the Clubhouse app?
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Well, apparently Clubhouse is building a direct message text chat feature.
Well, it's about time.
Well, hold on, Mike. It actually might not be rolling out, so just go through this. Some Clubhouse users were treated to a surprise feature in their favorite app, but it wasn't long for this world. A new UI element called Back Channel popped up briefly before disappearing late last week, pointing the Clubhouse faithful to a new area of the app that generated plenty of chatter among users ready for more ways to connect. While the back channel screen was totally blank without so much as a text entry box, it looked like the company is working on building out the text chat feature that Clubhouse Paul Davison previously discussed in a company town hall. Quote, "I think that there are so many people who do DM back channels all the time, so many people who want to deepen friendships and relationships with people and do all sorts of other stuff. I think this is something that we should have," he said. The Clubhouse co-founder went on to say that building the feature to suit the app's use cases won't be trivial and wouldn't be happening right away. He also declined to elaborate on if the app would add traditional one-on-one DMs or a more open group text chat feature. When reached for a comment, Clubhouse didn't dissuade TechCrunch from the assumption that a messaging feature is around the corner, but issued a coy statement. Quote, the response was, as part of our product building process, Clubhouse regularly explores and tests potential features. The Clubhouse spokesperson told TechCrunch and continued, these functions sometimes become part of the app, sometimes they don't. So if anybody's been over on the Spotify Green Room, you see that there is a text function in there. And you can drop links in there, which are great. You can also drop hot links into your bio, which is great. The text chat is from experience, I've already seen, is it going to have moderation like in Twitch where you can have an auto mod or you can have people moderating the chat? These are, this will stop from spamming, so there is a lot more that will have to go into it. And, we'll see on that. But we also have another audio app. Oh, you knew this was coming. Has anybody heard of Facebook?
I think I've heard of that as well. I'm sure some of our viewers may have heard of that app.
Well, last week, Mark Zuckerberg, he launched it. He had a demo of it just on the same day that Green Room launched. And now, this one also from TechCrunch, Facebook officially launches live audio rooms and podcasts in the U.S. In April, Facebook announced a series of planned investments in new audio products, including a Clubhouse-like audio competitor, as well as new support for podcasts. Today, Facebook is officially rolling out these products with the launch of live audio rooms in the U.S. on iOS, starting with public figures and select Facebook groups, and the debut of an initial set of U.S. podcast partners. The company tells us that live audio rooms will become available to any verified public figure or creator in the U.S. who's in good standing with Facebook and is using either a profile or the new Facebook Pages experience on iOS. For Facebook groups, the feature is launching with a dozen of groups, they've been told. Both products will become more broadly available in the weeks and months ahead as more people, podcasts, and groups are brought on board. Meanwhile, 100% of Facebook users in the U.S. will be able to listen to live audio rooms and podcasts as of this week. Much like Clubhouse or similar audio apps, Facebook's live audio rooms offer a standard set of features. The event hosts appear in rounded profile icons at the top of the screen, while listeners appear in the bottom half of the screen as smaller icons. The active speaker is indicated with the glowing ring. If verified, a check appears next to their name as well. There are also options for enabling live captions, a raise hand tool to request to speak, and tools to share the room with others on Facebook through things like newsfeed or group posts. Facebook does things a little differently than others in some places. For instance, hosts are able to invite people to join them as a speaker in advance of the session. Oh, what a feature. Oh, I love that feature right there. To be able to put together your host, and when you start the room, they come in the room and they are up on the stage. Clubhouse.
Imagine that when you set someone as a host for your event, that the app recognizes them as such when they enter. That's what a feature.
Well, I can't tell you how many times my co-host in the Good Day Room will send me a DM in a back channel through another app saying I can't find the room in the hallway, and yet they are the co-host of the Clubhouse room. All right, so continuing on this, so you can also invite them to join as a speaker, and in the session there can be up to 50 speakers, and there's no limit on the number of listeners. During the session, users will be notified when friends and followers join the chat too. While users can like or react to the content as it streams using the thumbs up bottom at the bottom of the screen, which connects you to Facebook's set of emojis. And with the launch, listeners can now show support to the public figure of the live audio room by sending stars. These stars can be purchased during the conversation and used at any time, similar to how they work with other Facebook Live content. By sending stars, the listener is bumped up to the front row, a special section that highlights the people who sent the stars. This allows event hosts to easily recognize their supporters and even give them a shout out during the event if they choose. And also another new feature allows hosts to select a nonprofit or fundraiser to support during their conversations, and listeners and speakers can directly donate. A progress bar will show how much has been raised during the show. I mean, if anybody's been over, I like stars, but it's attached to a financial ecosystem. It's similar, I guess it's more like bits on Twitch and not like gems on Green Room, which right now I think probably about 70% of the Green Room rooms are come and get your gems or gem for gem. Let's gem you up.
Is it fair to say that this is just their version of an NFT? This is a non-fungible token that is purchased with real money that has no monetary value outside of their system. Is this is this their version of monopoly money? You know, that you buy with real money. This is an interesting kind of diversion from other platforms, and so this interests me a great deal. I'm fascinated by fungible and non-fungible tokens that are used on these apps, and so this is fascinating to me. Oh, really? You buy them with real dollars, and then you can only spend them on the app, almost like beer tickets at a festival. You can't take those to Chili's and buy a beer with your beer tickets from the county fair, but you can go to the county fair beer stand and buy your beer with your beer tickets. So this is fascinating to me. Is this really just a non-fungible token that they've instituted?
Hey, has anybody had experience on Green Room and would like to come up during our final minutes? Please raise your hand. I know some people, I might hit the invite button so you can beat me to it. And with that, one other thing is, Eli, you joked saying the 3 letters, and, I can't say which, but I know there are audio platforms similar, one of the 36 other Clubhouse-like audio apps and drop-in audio apps, and there's a couple that are talking about NFTs incorporated into it, so your wish might come true. Nikki, great to see you.
Hey, Peter. Hey, Eli. Hey, Andy. Hey, everyone.
I said the magic word.
I'll have to try and keep my Green Room comments short because, as you know, we've had a lot of back chat about this and our experience of it. It is very strange. Peter is right. There are so many rooms, follow for follow, give gems, all of this. There doesn't really seem to be any real conversations going on at the moment. Everyone seems to be swarming in there, following the culture of Clubhouse, where people with higher followers get rewards or they're seen more in the hallway with the algorithm. So everyone's just kind of panicking and kind of thinking, what do we do? Get followers, get gems. And they're just kind of following what everyone else is doing, I guess. There was one room I did find interesting, though. There's a girl called Lily, I think. She's actually doing rooms where you meet Locker Room OGs. Because Locker Room was the original app, which they then was bought by Spotify and made into Green Room. So hearing them speak is actually interesting, because they've obviously, their app's been infiltrated by all us crazy people throwing gems, and they think it's ridiculous because they didn't use the gem system as that before. It's supposed to be, if you like what someone says, you might give them a gem, but everyone's just throwing gems everywhere because they're kind of calculating what they might be in the future if you have lots of them. So I guess just go and check it out and see what you think. But I really hope new conversations will start on there soon and not just gem throwing.
I can't give you a gem, Nikki, here, but I'll give you that.
Oh, that's lovely.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to shake out. I mean, give it another 2 weeks, and we'll start seeing some of or another week even. And hopefully we'll start to see some more content. And we're going to actually start putting we're going to test out a few things there as well. And Nikki, I think you are in discussion about doing some stuff.
Yay!
Yeah, Andy.
I had a quick question for Nikki. Nikki,
yeah.
You're UK based. I didn't know whether this was a UK thing or a US sort of my mistake kind of thing, but I'm on Green Room and I can't pick any topics. It says choose a topic and I've got just a blank screen. So I can't actually narrow my feed down at all. It's quite annoying.
Oh, preferences? Are you talking about like interest, like the interest here on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been buggy.
Also, there aren't many yet. Like we have clubs here, they have things called groups, and I'm searching for different groups. And for example, with music, I can only find 3 different ones. There's nothing on the music industry. It's just very vague, like music discovery, production, and music producers, or music for everyone. So there doesn't seem to be things on like marketing or other different topics that we might be interested in. So I think that will grow. But I'm finding it very difficult to find anybody I know on there, because it doesn't search by terms. You have to actually know their name, or maybe just people we know on Clubhouse aren't on there yet. Of course, all of the big sales coaches and people are on there. So you'll see Rob Moore on there already, and those kind of people. So they've got on it immediately, and they're, of course, in all the gem throwing rooms.
Hey, is Brad and JT Fox over there? Because I'm definitely going to hop over there then.
I haven't seen JT Fox, but I've definitely seen Wolf Fox and a few of the others that are often in the same rooms. So I'm sure they'll get in there quick. But hey, everyone in the audience, everyone on stage, the app's only a week old. So if you want to be an early adopter and try and throw some gems and get in there, try it out now.
When you see Nikki, double tap her profile picture to give her a gem, and then wait 5 minutes to give her another gem. Thanks for that, Nikki. Thank you, everyone. We are going to just close up and just, because it is the Power Hour, and we have about 10 seconds left, but I'll let it go a little over time. Eli, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm encouraged by the letters that are going out to the venues with notifications about the funding that is due to them under the Shuttered Venue Grant. And I'm really hopeful that funding comes in. Like I said earlier, if you were someone who was sick and you were told your medicine will come sometime in July or August, that might not cut it. That might hurt. And so I'm really cheering for this funding to come in for these venues. These are our cultural institutions of music in the United States. Let's preserve them under their current owner operators and under their current legacies. Let's have them continue. So I'm excited about the funding under the Shuttered Venue Grant, and let's go funding.
Right on. Thank you, everybody. Great day. Great talk. Thank you. And also, if you aren't already, make sure to go to musicindustrycity.com and register for free. We have a lot going on because, and we send out 2 emails a week. And if you got the email on Sunday, well, if you didn't and you're registered, you might just have to check your spam folder. But we're having a networking get together. We're calling it just a picnic on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern in the metaverse. So it is in the Music Industry City metaverse. It's in like the festival grounds, and you don't need a headset or anything. You can get it right from your computer, right from your browser, and you get to meet and connect. So you have to RSVP for it. So if you got the email, make sure RSVP, because the city ordinances only allow for 15 people to be on the festival grounds at the time. So make sure you RSVP right away. And if you're not registered at Music Industry City and you're not getting that email, then just go there, register, sign up. It's free, it's quick, it's painless, and we'll send out that email on Wednesday with our pick of the week, music pick of the week, and other information, other updates, and some of our other live programming and VR. There's a whole lot going on. So that's where you can find out everything. Thank you once again to Eli. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with us for the last hour. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you 12 Eastern right here tomorrow for another Music News Power Hour. Have a great day. It's so great to see you.
Cheerio.
Oh, cheerio.